This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting, brought to you by Spreaker from iHeart. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Tuesday, November 5th. First up, Fox sells out Super Bowl ads at record pricing. During Fox's latest earnings call, CEO Lachlan Murdoch announced the company has sold out of Super Bowl 59 ad inventory at record pricing, with Fox reportedly seeking a minimum of $7 million for a 30-second ad spot. While the big game is already booked solid, it's worth noting sports podcasting has experienced consistent audience growth in recent years, has plenty of inventory open for that Super Bowl period, and is more affordable for the same reach $7 million would get you on February 9th, 2025. Next up, tracking podcast tracking. This one's got multiple sources. Rain News recently covered the announcement that Libsyn Ads is discontinuing their monthly report of podcast ad CPM, that's cost per thousand impressions, which has been running since 2020. On that same subject of podcast tracking, Adam Bowie is back again with further coverage of PodTrack debuting new podcast trackers for various countries around the globe. This time, Bowie looked at Australia's PodTrack charts and compared them to Triton Digital's Australian podcast ranker for the same period. While Triton Digital's data also operates on an opt-in basis, leaving some shows like The Joe Rogan Experience out of Australian charts, the majority of major publishers in the country are accounted for. Meanwhile, PodTrack's tracker has several noteworthy differences and gaps, such as the ABC News top stories not appearing at all in PodTrack's ranking, despite being third highest ranked podcast in Triton, due likely to the fact it's an hourly podcast distributed largely via smart speakers. Libsyn's monthly reports on podcast ad CPMs provided a rare, consistent glimpse into the state of podcast advertising, even if it was limited to the scope of Libsyn Ads inventory. Incomplete pieces of data can have value if presented well, but multiple incomplete pieces of data or data only participated in by just one company can cause more issues than benefit. Next up, brand versus performance marketing, lessons from Advertising Week New York. A noteworthy panel during Advertising Week New York was Brand as Multiplier, Why We Need to Rethink Brand versus Performance, focusing on the wider conversation about reframing brand marketing and performance from competing ideas to tools working towards the same goal. The two work better in tandem than when one is preferred over the other, with brand advertising working best to create equity that can then be leveraged by performance marketing at the bottom of the funnel. Speaking of the bottom of the funnel, eBay data shows how holiday ads influence consumers. A new trend report from the online sales platform eBay shares findings from a census-wide survey conducted in early July of this year, which surveyed 3,005 holiday shoppers. 21% of overall holiday shopper respondents say they find advertisements help them find the best gifts. When filtered for respondents aged 25 to 34, that number jumps up to 28%. 46% of the overall crowd say they are open-minded and advertisements help spark gift discovery. As studies like the Media Moves the Message show, podcast advertising is great at lower funnel performance, making podcasts a logical inclusion for holiday campaigns promoting products and deals for last-minute shoppers. As for the rest of the news, Tom Webster appeared on Right About Now with Ryan Alford to discuss the podcast industry's evolution. Acast has posted their Q3 earnings report, citing a 3% decrease in listens year over year, which is attributed to iOS 17's auto-download correction, while average revenue per listen is up 36% year over year. Spotify shares its growth stats after the launch of Spotify Ad Exchange, including the proportion of video ads in its sales. Kids podcast Dork Tales has joined audio platform Yodo with its new Hidden Heroes of History collection, and Sonnet has released their programmatic marketplace platform for audio ad buying across major platforms. Be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by Newton Shadowcotty, Brian Barletta, Tom Webster, and myself. This episode is hosted on Spreaker. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us again tomorrow.